Welcome councillors, welcome officers and members of the press to the planning meeting on this day, Tuesday the 1st of February. Let's start with the first item, which is apologies for absence. Good evening. Have you received any? None? Okay, thank you. Let's move on to the next item then, which is declarations of interest. Do we have any? No, I see none. So let's move on to item number 3, which is minutes, to approve the minutes of the last planning committee held on the 11th of January, proposed by Councillor Gavshak, seconded by Councillor Plant. All those in favour? Thank you, that's carried. And let's move on to item number 5, which is plans amended on page 9. Page 9, please. Okay, so the only item we have on amended at this meeting is P21 S3252, and it's a full application for Hobbs Red Line moorings. Jodie.
So yeah, the committee recommended refusal on this. The only updated information is an updated flood risk assessment. So I consider that your original comments would still stand on this.
Thank you. Councillors, Councillor Plants.
Oh, I think that the fact that the EA has been close to, recommended refusal on it is probably strong enough just on that basis. But then you read other submissions from Jim and those that either live local or use the terraces as being used at the moment, and it is going to completely ruin the visual aspect down the Thames from where the terrace is. If you use any of the red line norm at the moment, the main view is left, you can't see anything the other way through the bridge. I can only feel that if it was only going to be used on the odd occasion to make loading easier, why not just use all the loading points that they already have down by Hobbs itself? So I'm not that the purpose matters. I think on the EA alone, I recommend refusal.
Okay, thank you. Is that seconded? Councillor Gavshak, thank you. Would any other councillor like to speak?
I'd just like to, I think there is going to be obstruction of the view along there. I think it's going to obstruct the mooring in Red Line Court as well. Red Line Court, and I still think it's totally out of character.
I agree. I think it's all about safety as well as the navigation of the river. Okay, well, yes.
So I'll just to confirm, redo the other comment that add in about visual impact, because I think that's a new comment.
Okay. Yeah. All right, so would any other councillor like to speak before we vote on the motion? No, okay, I see none, so let's go for all those in favour of refusal. All those against and abstaining? Thank you. Carried. Okay, so let's move on to the next item on the agenda, which is agenda item 6, and this is plans new. The first one is P21 S5229, and it's a householder application for 29 Park Road. Jodie.
I have no objection. There's similar scale developments as in terms of the first floor element within the street and other built-up areas within Henley. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councillors, Councillor Gavshak.
I propose acceptance, and it's along the lines of what Jodie has said. The second floor, the first floor element is only half width of the terrace, so it's a standard full width on the ground floor, which is standard, but half width upstairs. So I propose acceptance of this. Thanks.
Thank you. Seconded by Councillor Plant. Thank you. Would any other councillor like to speak? No. Okay. All those in favour? Okay. Thank you. That's carried. And P21 S5249, it's a listed building application for the Bill on Bell Street. Jodie.
No objections, just as a consideration of noise from this development. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Plant.
Approve.
Seconded by Councillor Gavshak. Would any other councillor like to speak? No. Okay. All those in favour of approval? Okay, that's carried. Thank you. I'll take the next two together if I may. It's P21 S5267, which is a full application, and P21 S5268, which is listed building consent, and it's first and second floor, 47A Bell Street. Jodie.
Yeah, the heritage statement states that it will be traditional in appearance and light frame, but I do note that the SND HPC shopfront design guide states that Dutch canopies which do not retract are bulky and obtrusive and are therefore likely to be unacceptable. Thank you.
Well, thank you, councillor Plant.
I actually like the look of them myself, but in line with the conservation, out of keeping with the Georgian frontage of the building, normally use shutters and bits like that. So purely on the fact it's out of keeping the street scene and not in line with the history of the building.
Thank you. Okay, seconded. Yeah, thank you. Would any other councillor like to speak?
So was that approval or refusal?
Would any other councillor like to speak? Yes, councillor
Yeah,
Clark.
the awnings, how far do they come out onto the pavement? I know it states that they can be removed, but is that an inconvenience to the public walking past?
They're not
Right through-
ground
right
floor,
through,
they're first, second, and third floor.
Oh, would any other councillor like to speak? No, okay, all those in favour of refusal? All those against? Thank you, that's carried. And we have P21 S5285, it's a household application for 33 Kings Road. Jodie.
Again, there's similar first floor extensions in other developments along the street and within ME. So I have no objection. Thank you.
Thank you, councillor Plant.
Approval.
Seconded by councillor Gavashak. Would any other councillor like to speak? No, okay, all those in favour? Thank you. Approved. And the next one is P21 S5291. It's a household application for 158 Grays Road. Jodie.
So yeah, a large two-story extension is proposed, but it is a large house on a large plot, so no overriding concerns.
Okay, thank you, councillor Gavashak.
I propose acceptance of this. I think Jodie's hit the nail on the head. It's a large plot. It's in keeping, and there is plenty of room for cars at the front. So fine. Approval. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Plant, you seconding? Okay. Would any other councillor like to speak before we vote? No, okay, all those in favour of approval? Thank you, that's carried. And the next is P21 S5292. It's a household application for 40 Milton Close. Jodie.
Yeah, this will be visible from the road. It's a prominent house on the corner plot, and although it's single story, it will be a flat roof. One of the pitch roof will be preferred. It could impact on the street scene. Thank you.
Councillor Clark.
Recommend approval.
Okay, thank you. Is that seconded? Yes, councillor Plant, thank you. Would any other councillor like to speak? Councillor Gavashak.
I think Jodie's picked up a point about the flat roof. I think this site is perfectly acceptable for what they are proposing. But could we add a suggestion that in fact they convert it from a flat roof into a pitched roof?
I think it's going to be
So
green. It's going to be green.
Even more than can we?
All the greenery slide off like that now. It needs to be flat so everything can live on top of it. Otherwise the little insects will be like,
Even more rooms as well, having a slope. Fine, okay, if they want to agree with it.
Okay, well, look, we've not voted yet, so let's see who else
No.
agrees.
I think the highways concerns need to be met. There was something to do with access, which is one of the next there, some specific points.
Okay, thank you. Would any other councillor like to speak? No? Okay, well, we have a motion for approval. It's been seconded. All those in favour? Thank you, that's carried. Okay, the next one, P21 S5305, and it's a household application for 45 Castle Green. Jodie.
There's been a number of neighbour objections to the proposal due to impact on immunity from overlooking and overbearing. Comment. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, councillor Miller.
I like to recommend refusal on this one. I think we need all the parking there. We don't need any more carriage conversions. And Castle Green is very congested already. And I think the door windows are very out of keeping. I think one of the neighbours is complaining that their privacy, they're going to be looking straight into their garden. I think enjoying their rooms as well, their bedrooms. So
Okay, thank you. Is that seconded? Yes, councillor Clark, thank you. Would any other councillor like to speak? Yes, councillor Caversham.
I think we definitely just need to make the point about the dormers. They are really intrusive and overlooking.
Yeah.
So that it's overdevelopment, it's visually intrusive into neighbours, overlooking, etc. Thanks.
Thank you. Would any other councillor like to speak? Okay, all those in favour of refusal? Thank you, that's unanimous. Okay, the next one, P21 S5356 is a full application for 27 to 31 Marketplace. And over the page, you will note that there is associated listing building consent, which so we'll take it together. It's P21 S5360 listed building, and that's 27 to 31 Marketplace. Jodie.
I have no objections to the principle of this proposal. Note that the waste team would like to see the rubbish being stored within the building. That's fine. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Plant. Sorry, I don't know who's had their hand up first.
I was going to recommend approval, as long as waste and air quality, both air quality set out some pretty stringent requirements as well, that must be met 4 or 5 points. So otherwise, yes.
Seconding.
Yes, second that, it's the kind of accommodation we want in Henley, so it's, yes, agreed.
Okay, thank you.
I was more of the, can we argue against the fact that it's 4 one-bed apartments? Because we seem to have lots and lots of one-bed apartments popping up. But where's the accommodation for couples that are coming down? That, you know, I'm speaking from personal experience. We want to live in a 2-bedroom apartment. You know, we just get you see them putting in 1-bedroom apartments because it's like you can squeeze more in.
So you prefer to see 2 apartments of 2 bedrooms, perhaps? Okay, thank you. Would any other councillor like to speak? Yes.
Yeah, I just want to speak on the waste. There's nowhere in the plans that they're going to keep waste for 2 weeks. So I would suggest, there is space behind, and there needs to be an area at the back there where waste is kept.
I would say with the waste as well, because where we are as well, we've got nowhere to store the waste.
Oh, you're the one that puts rubbish in.
No.
No, you show them. Yeah, but from that perspective,
Yeah,
you get the bags. You store the bags in the house. When the bags are full, what do you do with them?
exactly.
So we have to basically store them, and then they go out on the Tuesday night. And if you're lucky, they pick them up.
Okay.
So I propose subject to an area for waste on the.
I think that's already been proposed anyway, wasn't it? By
Waste that laid out the
by
requirements,
councillor
they
Clark,
need to
yes.
demonstrate the area on the back. where it can be kept.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm suggesting there should be a waste on the back of the building. There is area there, there's car parking there. They must be able to put a waste area there.
If they don't,
Well, as long as they can demonstrate it somewhere.
if they don't,
Well,
own it,
yeah, but they won't. They demonstrate they may have a cupboard in there, might put a cupboard, but that doesn't demonstrate they're going to keep the waste there for 2 weeks. And I don't believe people do keep waste there for 2 weeks.
do they own parking?
Yeah, basically.
Do they park?
Okay. Do you accept the amendment?
As long as the parking out the back is owned by them, and it's not owned by HGI,
Yeah.
the
And
property.
secondary accepts the amendment?
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Yes.
Okay, all right. So would any other councillor like to speak? Yes, councillor Clark.
Can't they put another bin in Thomas Lane so they just walk it across and put it in the bin? Because it seems to all end up in Thomas Lane.
Far away from me.
No is the answer.
Right.
Okay, right, okay, let's put this to the vote then. All those in favour of approval subject to that condition as laid out? Yeah, okay, thank you, that's approved. Right, let's move, again, I'm going to take these 2 together because they are linked. We've got P21 S5370 and it's a full application, and we've got P21 S5371, which is listed building consent for 25 Thameside. Josie.
So yeah, the design and access statement states that the planning permission granted previously is now unviable due to COVID-19. There's a pre-application given from SODC where the officers said they would support this proposal, and my only other comment would be subject to satisfaction of the conservation officer in terms of the impact on the historic structure. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, councillors. Yes, councillor Plant,
Yeah, approval.
seconded by councillor Garishak.
Yep.
Subject to, are you
Conservation.
happy? Yeah, subject to conservation. Any other councillor like to speak?
It's a shame that we don't have more HMOs that, because a lot of restaurants used to use HMOs and they used to provide perfect staff accommodation.
Yeah,
Whereas with a lack of HMOs, places like Lot Vine, when it used to be, there's just nowhere for these staff and waiters and KPs and all these people to stay. It's the difficulty. But
yeah, so obviously new owners don't want to go down that road. Okay, would any other councillor like to speak? No, okay, all those in favour of approval? Are you allowed, are we allowed to share? Are we allowed to share?
It's like school, you don't have to demand to see it. Last time
Yes.
yes.
That's carried, thank you. Okay, so P21 S5380, it's a full application and it's for 82 and 84 Grays Road, Jodie.
This is required as permitted development rights have been removed, but no overriding objection to it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councillors, councillor Gavashak.
Right, I propose acceptance of this. The only other thing is this, that it has been raised in the past that there was a problem with the boundary on this, one of these properties, encroaching on any town council land. There's nothing in this planning application that is offensive, except have they got the block plan and the site plan accurately designated on it? So I would say approval subject to the site plan being accurate.
Can I just point here with the planning officer?
They have to serve notice if it's not theirs, but it would be civil in terms of there's concern between the two.
Okay, yeah, so a boundary is not a material planning consideration.
Okay.
So
Well, in terms of the plans approval.
if we have those sorts of concerns, we will need to take it up with the landowner separately.
Yeah.
Councillor Arwood, would you like to say anything
Well,
about
just
that?
really, I was going to ask Councillor Gavin a question. If you think it's offensive, is that because you think the fence is in the wrong position?
No. Something I noticed actually,
It is in the wrong position.
in all seriousness, why we were actually speaking about this, I did actually notice when I was on the walk on there the other day that they put a side access gate in, which I thought was rather peculiar.
Also offensive.
That's on this application.
So is it part of the application? Okay, and we're all happy with that, because normally if you're surrounding, public access, it's
Anyway, no. Carry on. I was just saying the design of one of them I think looks awful, but they're there.
yeah.
Yes.
And we're just on about the conditions.
Yeah, okay. All right, well, listen, we've got an approval motion which has been seconded. Any other councillor likes? Let's just take a vote. I think we've had to run back talking. Okay, all those in favour? Okay, thank you. That's carried. Okay, the next one is P21 S5382, and it's a full application for Wyvale Country Gardens on the Reading Road. Jodie.
So the committee raised no objection to 40 dwellings and employment on this site. This would result up to 55 new homes. The density would be cramped and it would include development up to 3 stories high with no employment line coming forward and limited open space. The local plan states that development should only come forward that protects and enhances and contributes to the landscape, and all development must be of high quality design. These are my points. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Can I
Councillor
just ask a
Romans.
question? Did you say 3 stories high?
Yeah, part of it.
Maybe expensive houses, aren't they?
They're apartments.
So you said houses.
Councillor Romans.
I propose objection, or rejection or refusal, whatever you want to term it. Let's keep it at 40. I don't think there's any need to overdevelop and have a site at 55.
Okay, thank you. Is that seconded? Councillor Plant seconding?
Yeah, I think we throw the blockers in. And I think we should unanimously vote as well to support Harpston, Shiplake on their parish views on the same thing. I think it is massively overdeveloped and it is far too cramped for that site. And the other travesty is the loss of the employment. Like we've said it with development next to it as well, but Shiplake and Harpston, they could do with more, like services or conveniences, whether it's bar or this, that, or the other, but it's a vital part of it. So definitely.
Councillor Gavin,
Well, I think the important point to make is that the new owners of this land knew exactly what was in our neighbourhood plan when they actually bought it, and they should just stick to the limit of the 40 that was in the plan. So therefore, yes, I'm in agreement that it's. Have I got the number wrong?
It wasn't in the neighbourhood plan for housing, unfortunately, so we can't use that. It has got outline permission already for housing, but it was in the neighbourhood plan for employment originally. Yeah.
I thought it was a combination. Well, when
it does sit
Ada
outside the
Hersham
neighbourhood plan.
owned it, it was for housing and.
I think that got changed after the neighbourhood plan, the original one.
It does sit outside the neighbourhood plan, but it got outline planning permission because when they put it forward, they were basically saying, it's a brownfield
The
site.
new plan or the old one?
The old plan.
Right, councillors, would any other councillor like to speak to this? Yes, councillor Clark.
The access into that site, is that going to be where the gate is now, or are they going to put a roundabout there?
Well, it says on the plans that it's staying as it is.
It's a bit tight to the Thames Farm site, isn't it? You have two diagonal problems. Now, I suggested to Adrian Duffield 2 years ago, they should put a roundabout in Bolney Avenue and the access off Bolney Avenue into that.
That would really urbanise the area though, wouldn't it?
No, it wouldn't. You'll have traffic problems all the time because you've got the one at Thames Farm, you have the one
I don't think there's space to put in a roundabout there.
ample.
Damn traffic lights they've got there continuously.
Anyway, we're getting sidetracked here. We just need to concentrate on the housing itself at the moment. I mean, I can't help thinking that this is such a missed opportunity, this site. It's a really good size site for 40 beautifully designed homes with lots of green space, some mixed use there as well. It could be passive house, it could be carbon neutral, it could be all of these things, and it's none of them. I mean, I think our planning officer summed it up really well. It misses every single bar of what's in the local plan and what's in our neighbourhood plan on every level. That is my feeling. Okay, so let's take a vote on it then. All those in favour of refusal? Okay, that's carried. Thank you.
Put it down, abstention.
Can we put it to unanimous anyway, just to prove yesterday?
Oh, sorry, did you not put your hand up? Okay, I'm sorry, that is an abstention. That's not unanimous. You must have just gone like this or something,
I may have got my back.
You better go. That's what it was. Okay, right. Let's move on. P22 S0021. It's a listed building consent for 8 Hop Gardens. Jodie.
No objection, thanks.
Thank you. Councillor Plant.
Yes, subject to conservation.
Seconded.
Sorry.
Councillor Clark.
Yes, or approval. So
Approval.
Okay, thank you. Would any other councillor like to speak? Okay, the motion is to approve. All those in favour? Thank you, that's carried. Okay, and the next one is, I'll take these two together, P22 S0038, and it's a household application, P22 S0039, it's listed building consent, and it's for 15 Friday Street.
No objection.
Councillors, Councillor Plant.
yeah, it's very minor and small, so yeah, approval.
Okay, thank you. Seconded. Councillor Clark, thank you. Would any other councillor like to speak? Okay, all those in favour of approval? Thank you, that's carried. And over the page on page 13, I'll take these two together. It's P22S0041 full and P22S0043 listed building consent. Jodie, we are allowed to content. Yeah, okay. Yes, Jodie, please.
No objection.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Plant?
Yes.
That's, thanks. That's a motion for approval.
Straight level.
Are you seconding Councillor Garishak? Okay,
Yeah.
thank you. Would any other
Yes.
Would any other councillor like to speak? No, okay. So
I would
vote.
like Councillor Plant to sum up on this.
The Brits must all be.
You'll be going to personally inspect it,
Yeah,
won't you?
I do walk past every day.
It's got to be fenced off on your own, hasn't it?
I mean, I must say, I mean, I welcome it. I mean, I just can't believe what a state it's in. How did they ever let it get this bad?
They let the library one fall down.
Yeah.
Pile of bricks.
It does look very precarious, doesn't it? Okay, right, let's put this in vote then. All those in favour of approval? Thank you, that's carried. And the next one is P22S0052. It's a householder application for 53 Albert Road. Jodie.
I didn't have any objections.
Thank you. Councillor Davishak.
It's the same as we've passed just earlier in this meeting. The first floor is full width. Sorry, the ground floor is full width, the first floor is half width, so it's acceptable. Thank you.
Seconded. Councillor Plant, thank you. Would any other councillor like to speak? No? Okay, all those in favour of approval? Thank you, that's carried. And the next one is P22S0059. It's a householder application for 3 Simmons Road. Jodie.
No objections.
Councillors, Councillor Plant.
Approve.
Thank you. Seconded by Councillor Clark. Thank you. Would any other councillor like to speak? Okay, let's put this to the vote in. Those in favour of approval? Thank you, that's carried. And the next is P22S0062. It's a listed building consent for 7 to 15 Catherine Wheel, Hart Street. That should just be Catherine Wheel, 7 to 15 Hart Street. Jodie.
No objection.
Thank you. Councillor Plant.
Approval subject to consent.
Okay, thank you. Seconded by Councillor Clark. Thank you. Would any other councillor like to speak? No, all those in favour of approval, subject to conservation officer. Thank you. That's approved. And the next two again I'll take together. It's P22S0066 householder application, 15 Hop Gardens, and then the listed building consent below, which is P22S0067. Jodie.
No objections, subject to satisfaction of conservation officer.
Thank you. Councillor Plant.
Approval. Should we just make subject to conservation part of the orders? Like, should we just assume it's a standard? It's just.
Yeah, that's quite good. Sorry, do I have a seconder? Councillor Garishak, thank you. Would any other councillor like to speak? Okay, all those in favour of approval? That's carried. Okay, moving over the page to page 14. And we've got P22S0087. It's a householder application for 205 Grays Road. Jodie.
Yeah, so this is a large property on a large site. There is existing screening along the road. I note that there's a tree being removed, so it be subject to satisfaction of the forestry officer. A condition could be placed on to ensure it's ancillary to the main dwelling. Thank you.
Councillors, Councillor Clark.
Approval.
Seconded. Councillor Clark seconding.
Yes.
Any other councillor like to, sorry.
Oh, no, I was just going to add about there's a concern about levels between the two properties and one of the properties subsiding. So I think subject to the tree and levels.
Okay. Would any other councillor like to speak to this? No? Okay. All those in favour of approval with conditions? Okay. And against? Abstain? No? You missed it, didn't you?
I did.
Okay. That's fine. Okay, that's carried.
Is that
The
because
next
you're
one,
chatting to Councillor Ryan?
No, just,
I think he's doing it
just
actually now.
write some notes.
He's giving me a bad reputation.
Well, you don't want to sit there, that's the problem.
Yeah, no, you're not going to have a big wriggle there.
Well, I
That's a
would.
roll it. Right, okay, next one is P22 S0097. It's a list of building consents from Mulberry House, and this is a retrospective planning application. Jodie. Oh, we missed one?
Yeah.
Oh, I beg your pardon. Well, can we just quickly vote to take that one so that we, I don't lose my thread? Is that okay?
Yeah, I didn't have any objections to that.
Okay, thank you. Approval, councillor Plant, thank you, seconded by councillor Gavashak. All those in favour? Okay, nice and simple, thank you. Right, so moving back up, P22 S0093 is a full application for land adjacent to 5 St Anne's Close.
Yeah, so the principle of the new dwelling here is acceptable. I do note it's very close to a pumping station, and there's concerns raised about the footpath being retained.
Surely, yes, thank you. Would any,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, should we have a discussion about this first, councillors, before we put this to the vote? Would anybody like to start off? Councillor Plant?
I mean, it does seem very unpopular in the surrounding vicinity. Many residents have taken the time to write quite lengthy objections to it, about it being, you know, out of keeping with the area, loss of daylight, size of the plot, and also concerns about access to it. So I need to think.
Yes, I'm slightly concerned about the size. I had absolutely no idea that there was private land there. I had absolutely no idea. And how come they actually own the whole of that road, that piece of road, that piece of path? Does anybody know the history to it?
Yeah,
Well, you have to share it.
Well, it was all owned by Spires, all the land around there.
Yeah.
And that they've gradually fitted a house in here and a house in there, and this must be almost the last one now, if it still belongs to them. I'm
No,
not
it's
sure
not Spies anymore.
whether it's sold off then, but it's just that, you know, there was a piece of land there.
So that is a private road though, because it just looks like
Yeah,
a piece of.
I know somebody that's got.
It is Spire still, Mr.
Is it?
WJ Spire.
Okay.
There you go. Yeah, I know someone's got, the use of the road there, it doesn't, the road doesn't belong to the applicant. They'd have to get a right of way over the land, but that's irrelevant on the plan application.
Right, okay. Okay, councillor
That's
Gavin.
all I was-
well, I'm minded to propose refusal on this, purely because I think we owe duty to take it to the next level. And it will be probably ideally a calling application in terms of overdevelopment. So if you, do you want to carry on discussing before we make?
Well,
proposals?
yeah, I mean, I definitely have concerns around safety, you know, cars and people, you know, all of those sorts of things, retention of the rights of way, the landscaping, you know, there's no plans for mitigation for the tree habitat loss. Yeah.
Well, I think you're in the best position to make a proposal then.
I'm going to propose refusal. Is that seconded?
Yeah.
Okay, would any other councillor like to speak? Okay, all those in favour of refusal? And abstaining.
I'll abstain just in case
Right.
councillor Gavin comes in.
Okay, thank you.
A small house on the plot would potentially.
I mean, the house itself is very bijou, and but the driveway is just so long. Yeah.
I think part of that looks like it is just by the turning space, because I think there is no other way. So it's just a huge great turning area and 2 parking spaces.
Okay, well, it's refused. Okay, let's jump down to P22 S0101. It's a householder application. It's for 31A Deanfield Avenue. Jodie.
No objections.
Okay, thank you. Would any councillor like to speak? Councillor Plant?
Approval.
Is that seconded? Councillor Clark, thank you. Would any other councillor like to speak? No, okay, all those in favour of approval? Okay, that's carried, thank you. And the next one is P22 S0104. It's a household application for 63 Vicarage Road. Jodie.
So they're proposing quite a large first floor rear extension. This is located away from neighbouring property, but could still have some impact on their amenity. I have no objections to the single story element. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Plant. Seconded, Councillor Babishak. Thank you. Would any other councillor like to speak? No. Okay. All those in favour of approval? Okay, that's carried. Thank you. And the next one is P22 S0175, and it's a full application, and it's for 10 Hart Street. It's the former Barclays Bank.
And no objection.
Thank you. Any proposals? Councillor Plant.
Yeah.
Seconded by Councillor Babishak. Would any other councillor like to speak? No. Okay. All those in favour? Approval. Thank you. That's carried.
It's a safeguard money.
How did I know that one of you would say something like
Go and
that?
find out.
Do you know, I tell you what though, I'd love to know how many customers they've lost by closing. Love to know. Would you be able to ask? Or would the head and hair be able to ask?
I'll let Santander straight away.
Because I use the post office every day. I see so many frustrated people trying to, pay checks in and everything. Now they're now going to go to the post office to pay their checks in.
You go at 4 o'clock when this year's massive.
Barclays
House
Try
at
to
the
avoid
door.
it.
Even paychecks and the Barclays up.
Yeah, but a lot of people don't use apps. There are still lots of people out there that don't use apps.
Did you buy one of the new stamps today?
But I mean, seriously, I mean, Yanda Club, they still have a cashing up business, and we don't know what we're going to do yet about that. There'll be lots of companies affected by this in the town.
Move.
They don't like him move.
We can't move the Yanda Club. Right.
The bank.
Yes, move banks, yes. But yeah, but no, that they.
Well, that as well.
But
Yes,
what
but-
if they close those banks as well? I think last time I was in HSBC, I said, please don't close.
Just make everything free.
It'll just be NatWest, the last one.
Well, you should all move to NatWest.
Yeah.
I've been a customer since the age I was 18 years old. That's 400 years ago.
That is one satisfied customer.
Absolutely.
The only one left.
Man boy.
It's also a very good place to stand.
Yeah, I can remember the days when the
Oh,
bank
no.
managers used to come and see you. You realise we're starting your own draw.
Why? Your overdraft too large stuff.
Yeah.
Oh,
I have
dear.
to go to Reading now for my bank.
You don't have the app then.
There's one just there. It's called NatWest. Just move your account. It's easy.
I wonder what progress Mr. Howell, the Right Honourable Mr. Howell MP has made with writing to these banks, Lloyds and Barclays.
Probably paying him off.
He's probably a coot, so he probably don't care less.
Sorry, I couldn't resist mentioning that. Right, okay, let's move on. Let's go to the next one, which is P22 S0186. It's a household application, and it's for Drawback House, 50 Rotherfield Road. Jodie.
So, yeah, they've received pre-application advice stating they, subject to no impact on the protected trees, the final would support this proposal. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Plant.
I want these problems proven. Please don't damage any of your trees. That's a huge something.
Seconded.
Yeah.
Councillor Gabishak.
Obviously
thank you.
subject to the trees.
Would any other councillor like to speak? Okay, the motion is for approval. All those in favour? Okay, thank you. That's carried. And the next one is P22 S0205, and it's a household application, and it's for 71 Gainsborough Crescent. Jodie.
So the two-storey extension is quite large in scale, but it is set back from the main property. It shouldn't overly impact the streets and the neighbouring properties. Thank you.
Thank you, councillor Plant.
I actually think it's slightly excessive and changing the spread of housing. And I know we do mention every now and then that, it's a loss of one size house that's been changed to something completely different. So I'm minded to go for refusal on this one because it is an excessive overdevelopment of the house.
Is that seconded?
Yeah, I'll second that.
Okay. Councillor Arlott seconding. Would any other councillor like to speak? Okay, all those in favour of refusal? Okay, that's carried, thank you. Okay, we've got P22 S0229. It's a household application for 46 St Mark's Road. Jodie.
No objection.
Thank you, councillor Plant.
Over.
Seconded, councillor Gabishak, thank you. Would any other councillor like to speak?
It's another orangery.
All those in favour of approval? Okay, that's carried, thank you. Okay, so that concludes plans new. Thank you for your contributions. The next item on the agenda is item number 7, objections in FOIA applications. Do you have suggestions, councillor Gabishak?
Well, there are three possible, 2 or 3. The first one is on page 11, the awnings. I think that is visually intrusive to the Henry Street, and so it should be called in, but I'll take advice on that. The one that I mentioned, St Anne's, which is a call-in.
Sorry, which one?
Page 14, the St Anne's Close one.
Okay.
The one that you proposed.
Oh, yes, of course, yeah.
And at a stretch, 71 grains from present, but probably no.
We've got
What do other councillors think?
Wyvale.
The Wyvale is a big one, so that will be going in anyway.
Councillor
Yes,
Arlott,
pull that.
did you catch that? Which?
Yeah, I wouldn't be in favour of the awnings one.
I think it'll be rejected on conservation.
I think, yeah, I think an officer will make a decision on that one.
Okay,
I don't think it's.
so we draw that one.
And the other one you say?
St Anne's and Wyvale. And did you say Gainsborough?
I didn't. I think it could be put in, but I also think it won't go through anyway. Yeah, let's see.
Oh,
Depends
We'll
whether you
count
want to
on
make a meal of it. Or not.
Our board is Kent.
I'll go for St Anne's Close and I'll call it Wyvale, but Wyvale will go the other way.
yeah,
Just in case. So, those two.
yeah.
Yeah, okay,
Okay,
fine.
okay, are we all happy with that? Let's just have a quick vote. Yeah, thank you. Okay, so we just need to note the decision notices that came through from the Planning Authority, item number 8, was noted, yeah. And similarly, number 9, the Climate Emergency 2030 Working Group, just to consider the draft notes. Yeah, okay, thank you. And item number 10 is the South Oxfordshire and the Vale of White Horse Draft Design Guide. Jodie, would you like to speak to this?
Yeah, I have some comments. It's proposed to be a primarily digital document, but I found it quite hard to navigate. The main menu is quite small and hard to see. It could do with the contents page being at the beginning of the document with signposting and links to improve the accessibility of the document. In terms of content, there's a lot of useful information, including on how to do extensions in the 45-degree rule, which the committee would benefit from. There is a section on shopfront design, which I'm unsure how that works with the actual shopfront design guide itself. It's a shame that the section on the climate and sustainability is pushed back to the back of the document, and it doesn't seem to highlight the importance of that subject. There's limited in terms of heritage assets, and there could be more in terms of listed buildings and the adaptation for climate change. Also, other things, more information and the importance of those were my comments.
Would anyone, yes, councillor Clarence.
Bits like that. There's all kind of stuff in the PowerPoint presentation when you're like 14. It's just terrible. The whole burger menu page, which is like this one, it just looks really, really bad. Shadow text looks horrible, makes it look like the eyes don't work. And they've changed the colour of every header. So I stick to one typeface throughout the whole thing. And then on the menus halfway down, like, it's all that sort of like handwriting style type. It just looks really cool.
Okay, do you have any comments on the context of the design?
It is a design.
It is a design guide. I think Jodie's not too bad. I'm just throwing mine in as well.
So, we don't like it.
Councillor Arnott, as district planning.
No, they were my comments that I sent to. So I'm fine with that.
Oh, gosh. Right, okay. I think what we'll do is.
Very well.
I think what we'll do is Jodie will make a draft of a summary of the comments, and I will look at them with one other volunteer who would like to volunteer.
I think Jodie just draft it and send it, but yes, you
Yeah,
have a look at it.
I'll have the
You
input
have a
on
look at
it,
it as
and
well.
we'll get it sent off. It's going to
I
be
think
by the
she's
1st
got
of
it
March,
all.
isn't it? Yeah, okay. All right, thank you, councillors. Let's move on then to the next item, which is 11, South Oxfordshire enforcement statements. And this is just a verbal update from Jodie.
Yeah, so they've updated the planning enforcement statement. This is setting out how they carry out investigations in terms of planning enforcement. And they'll still be reviewing all reports of alleged breaches. But the main changes that they've introduced a triage system for all cases. So they'll assess the level and scale of planning harm to determine the next steps. So once it's scored, if it turns out there's been a breach of planning control, then they'll rate that against how much planning harm. This is to allow for officers to intervene more quickly on cases that there's potentially more harm, so with listed buildings or trees, etc. I think they're the main points. Yeah.
Any questions, comments, councillor Plants?
Ollie had a patient bring this up. They were describing it as, yes, you can prioritise the ones that obviously need following, but they were also saying that part of it, that they're suspicious that it's just about the backlog that they built up during COVID. And it's a way of breaches that seem less important, almost just getting brushed to the side, because you can triage it and go, actually, this is just minor, so let's just ignore it. And if that's the case, I don't think it's great, because a breach is a breach, whether it's an opaque on opening window to a big listed building concern, they should all be followed up. Otherwise, what's the point in having enforcement? If you breach something and then it's going to be triaged at a later date to not be important, what's the point in not setting any of these minor?
I did a 10-day question and answer with them last week, and that was raised, and they said that this is a process they've been using the whole time, that they're just ensuring that there's transparency and that it's written in the statement, really.
Councillor Arlott.
The problem with all this, with enforcement, is it's an opinion. You know, you'll have an opinion, you against your next door neighbour, and the next door neighbour has an opinion, and then the officer will come along and have an opinion. Basically what this needs, and we had very similar, 20 odd years ago or so, we had a person running the enforcement that couldn't make a decision. And the numbers just absolutely ballooned. They went to about 500. It was absolutely ridiculous. And I spoke to the chief executive at that time, a fellow called Bob Watson. And he said, what do you think of the problem? I said, well, the problem's simple. You've got an officer that can't make a decision. So you just go back in the file, and the file goes up and up and up. And what it needs there, and I've already spoken to, I think Mark said on this, what it needs is an officer to make a decision, and the decision's made, and you move on to the next one. You make the decision, and if it's for or against the person that's made the complaint, they move on. Once the decision's made, And that is the major problem. You know, point score, this, that, and the other, blah, blah, blah. But at the end of the day, you need someone to make a decision. And if you get that, you'll get the numbers all the way down. And if you don't make a decision, then this is why the numbers keep coming up and nobody comes to visit anybody. And this is what makes it worse, because people don't come out and then someone finishes the development. There's no way they're going to pull it down. I've never known a development in South Oxfordshire being pulled down, be it built differently from the planning application. Never. Yeah. So all this needs take them from me. All it needs, what I've already told. It just needs someone there to be able to make a decision. I'll do it for them.
Just typing furiously. Note the absence.
So be brave.
Yeah, they're not consulting us, unfortunately.
Or it's-
This is basically, it's just to up to date,
is
sorry,
already
to
been-
update councillors and to update.
It's already
the
been
public
through
with this
scrutiny,
person.
You say, I don't think we need to be consulted. I think, you know, we've obviously, we've written in what we think. And so, you know, they've got our submission. They don't need to come back and ask us again, you know.
Mm.
My view. So
Yeah.
that's a simple way to get the numbers down. Simple as that. But it's too simple. And if you say things are too simple, then it's something more difficult. Stop talking.
Right, okay, thank you for that update, Jodie. Right, let's move on to the next verbal update then, which is item 12 on your agendas, and it's Article 4 direction. Jodie.
Yeah, so in 2019, the council asked the district council to help support introduce the Article 4 direction to remove permitted development rights for office to residential in Henley. This was unsuccessful, and the head of planning, Adrian Duffield, stated that the prospect of demonstrating a successful case for Article 4 in Henley is very low, and that are outweighed by benefits of PD rights. Since then, there's been further relaxations by government for new permitted development rights, widening what can be changed from to residential without planning permission. There's also been changes to national policy, which makes it tougher to implement Article 4, specifically requiring cases to be based on robust evidence and to apply to the smallest geographical area possible, being limited to situations to protect local community or well-being in an area. And there are some examples recently, including Reading and Richmond, that have applied for Article 4 directions. So it'll be interesting to wait and see what the outcomes of those are, because they're currently being applied for to the Secretary of State. I can give you more information when we find out about those. Thank you.
Okay, councillors, what's your views on this? I mean, I'm absolutely very keen to get it to put the business case together to the planning authority, and even to commit some officer time to this, to assist in Article 4. How do you think? What do you think, Councillor Plant?
Is one of their objections that it was sort of a too large an area? Should we look at more specific, say, Newtown Road, in isolation being protected? Almost pick the low-hanging fruit like that. Let's go for an area and then see if we can do similar to another small tranche of town, rather than just go whole town centre.
Would any other councillor like to speak? Yes.
Yeah, I'd like to speak. I'd like Kath just to mention when we met with Melanie Smans, and that is her name actually, always, that she's been married. We went to meet with this officer over at SODC 3 years ago. If you'd just like to get a better from you.
You don't have to.
Kath's got no idea where you're going with it.
I don't remember who else went over, but we did have a
So this is
meeting.
back in 2019.
So was 29, must have been early 2019, because Sheridan wrote in late 2019 to Mark Stone, I think. We had a meeting with Melanie Smans in the economic development team, and she said that they hadn't got the time they hadn't got the staff at that time, but they would definitely be looking at it with a view to bringing it in, because they were also looking in association with Vale of White Horse, weren't they? But since then, we have had further communication from Adrian Duffield where he said there's no justification for doing it.
And now Melanie Spans has left.
Oh, and she's left, sorry. I forgot that bit. Yeah, she was leaving last autumn.
Yeah, look, the thing is with this, it's just a question if officers have got time over there. And if they had time on their hands, they would do something. We've got two prime examples which I will give. One is the town centre. You know, we do not want to lose any more retail shops. You know, we don't, dare I say, want a solicitor to go into a retail shop, which has happened in the marketplace. I've got nothing against the solicitors, I don't even know them. But, you know, they should stay as retail. And I think this is what Richmond's tried to do. They've tried to have a certain area in their town centre which stays at retail. So it's up to the district council either to grant planning permission or not, but they can then go back to the sock of the Article 4 where we need to keep retail. Because if you keep losing retail, you know, people aren't going to come to shops, so they won't even go to the coffee shop. So that's the first one we need to do. It's the town centre. We need to keep that as a thriving retail shop. Well, against last year we were second in the whole world, the best retail. But that we may be
Second
down to number 3 this year.
You sound like Boris.
The other one, the other prime example is down at Newtown. Excuse me, I'm talking. It's Newtown Industrial Estate down there. You know, we tried to get this is where it started. We tried to get an Article 4 down there so that we didn't lose any industrial down there. So what happened? We lost the one on the corner as you go into Newtown Road. There was an office block there that got changed into flats, and then the Anderson House one, which, you know, some councillors decided to vote in favour of some flats going in there. And it then sets a principle that you know, the whole thing's open for putting a warehouse and office block into flats. And that's basically the largest piece of industrial land we've got down there left, and we don't want to lose that. It's as simple as that. And you know, I just think it's sad that we're really, SODC haven't got the time to do it. There's insufficient planning officers there or whatever. And it's easier to make an excuse not to do it than try to do it. And I would like to see them try and bring in these Article 4s. If you don't try, you're never going to achieve them.
Surely the process isn't that taxing.
Yes, of course. I was just going to just say something in terms of town centre and read something from the national policy. Where they relate to change from non-residential to residential use, you can be limited to situations where an Article 4 direction is necessary. It goes on to say, include the loss of an essential core of primary shopping area, which would seriously undermine its vitality and viability, but this would be unlikely to extend to a whole town centre. So where council plants referring to, it has to be a specific.
Which we could do, the
just-
four retail streets.
Yeah, you just need to be clear.
So I think we go for specific streets
Yeah.
within one setback and just leave it like that. And then we give SODC a far smaller thing to do.
No problem at all.
Looking at Reading and what they've done, they've provided a lot of evidence of what the benefits of an Article 4 would be. And there's a big document. So there is things that you can provide to justify the implementation of them.
So we can copy and paste that.
Yeah, and I would be willing to do some work on it, but we need to understand if SODs, what they want from us, and whether what the process would be.
Yeah, I think we said, yeah, we're prepared to pursue this. You know, what do we need to do it? And just say to Adrian Duffel, we prefer a reply within 7 days rather than 7 weeks. 7 days.
So would Councillor Clark?
With the Anderson House, as Councillor Allen said, now this committee voted refusal on that development. But when it went to SODC, they passed it.
Oh, no, we couldn't believe that. We were there, weren't we, that evening?
I was totally shocked when I heard that.
Yeah.
result. So what's the point in us saying, no, we live in this town, we run this town,
Yeah,
but then they override us?
yeah, I don't think they got the call right on that one, I really don't. The officers didn't do a good job there, sorry, the councillors didn't do a good job there. Anyway, let's not revisit painful memories. Okay, so, right, just to sum up then, are we broadly in agreement that we want to try and pursue Article 4 for our town centre and
Yes.
Newtown Road industrial
Yeah,
estates as well?
I think if, like Jodie's saying, if we go back and say, look, you know, what would you be in support of us doing, or what can we do to make it easier? Should we break it down into more specific regions? Would that make it, you know, more viable? And if they come back and say, actually, yes, then at least we know the course to pursue on. Because otherwise they just come back and go, sorry, nothing. Whereas if we say we're willing to do X, Y, and Z, and look at just these specific areas, what do you need? They might go, okay, yeah, that's fine. Provide the evidence with it.
Are councillors broadly in agreement that we should have some officer time, some of our own officer time spent on this to assist SODC?
If they haven't.
I
Yeah,
think it depends what comes back. That's what you say.
okay, but we'll make the offer.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll write a letter outlining this, and would you like me to sign it, or would you like to sign it as the, well, obviously the planning officer, but it needs to be supported
I
by,
think go to the chairman.
okay. Would anybody like to see that letter before it goes? No, okay, we'll get that sorted out then.
Don't use shallow text.
Don't use,
Councillor Clark will be right.
Right, okay, thank you. Let's move on. Let's move on to item 13, which is a community land trust, and this is another verbal update. Will this be you?
It will be.
Okay,
yes.
thank you.
So I just thought I'd put a verbal update on the agenda for the committee, as the committee voted back at the beginning of the year, the beginning of last year, to support a community land trust for Henley. The land trust has been meeting sporadically for the last 12 months. We've been looking at what the best legal structure is for the trust, and that's ongoing at the moment. We've decided not to pursue new members and trustees until after the neighbourhood plan has gone through the process, because we think it's better to may have a site then as part through the neighbourhood plan that gives us focus for recruitment. And in conjunction with the legal advice, we may need some funding. And having discussed that with the accountant, we may come to planning to look for some money for some SIL money towards professional fees to advise on setting up the legal structure. So I may be able to bring a report to the next planning committee on that. I think that's where we are about that.
Okay. Any comments, questions, Councillor Plants?
I just think it's, you know, it's phenomenal. I think it's great. If it's something that this council, the committee can put in place, it would be brilliant for the town. Commend it highly.
I think towns and villages, all sorts of places up and down the country, just crying out for more power to be able to bring truly affordable housing to their communities. It's very, very difficult. There's not a lot of resource out there and ways that we can do that. Okay, so good luck to everyone involved, and thank you to everyone who's involved in that community land trust. It's how many are there now? Do you have on the committee? Oh, that's good, isn't it? Okay, right, let's move on then. Item number 14, which is the progress report for forwarding applications on page 19. Councillor Arlott, do you have any, Jodie or Councillor Arlott, do you have any updates?
I have one update.
Yep.
Plymouth Farm, that's been refused by SNDC.
Yeah.
They said that it would require planning permission for the works they're proposing.
I got the Red Lion Hotel, they're going to grant planning permission for the signage. I can do the other day.
Yeah.
So that can
Okay.
come, that can come. The other one's
Okay.
absolutely nothing, 24 St Mark's Road, that's one.
Yeah. We do have another couple of appeals that have come to us as well, and they need, but they'll be on the next planning agenda. Okay, right, so let's just go to the last progress report then, which is to note progress reports for this committee on page 15. Again, any updates? Yes, councillor Clarence.
So, does anyone know if the cables that they put across the road to do traffic counts are put there and then removed whilst all the boxes and bits are left there on the side of the road? If not, the ones outside my house have been stolen. Because they were there for about 12 hours. The next morning I woke up and the cables had gone, all the boxes and stuff is still chained to the side of the road.
I think the box should come with cables.
It's just a box, cables.
Right, okay, I will wait on. Now, there are a number of sites around the town. Northfield End, Kings Road, and St Mark's, St Andrews, Reading Road. Number of sites that I've paid for speed surveys with a view to getting further traffic calming measures into Henley. So we'll analyse the data going forward.
You're looking for fast cameras because I drove over mine.
It wouldn't be right of me to comment which routes I've been around the town. Yes.
On the porch break.
Yeah.
Councillor Arlott, did you have a comment?
Yeah, I
on
want
the
to speak,
items?
I want to speak about 18
I just woke up the next day.
Okay.
and the boxes
Well,
were
this
there
is
and
on
the
this-
attachment, the cables
on the,
Progress.
yeah, sorry.
Okay, councillors, we're just flipping back to the last progress report quickly.
I couldn't find it on there. Yeah, 18 Harcourt is going to appeal, and we need to write in about that.
But it will come up on the next agenda.
Well, yeah, well, maybe I would get it in now, as soon as we can do our observation on it. Yes, I can't remember the date.
We can make a preparation and we'll still bring it back to this meeting. Okay, we'll start making the preparations.
Thank you.
Okay, any other comments on that progress reports? Okay, all right, let's bring the meeting to a close then. Okay.
Well done.